Everybody, Elisa here with another Vera Bradley bag of the day. Um, I know today is when I usually do my Throwback Thursday feature, but I feel like I've been talking about vintage bags a lot because I've been buying a lot of vintage bags. um, and so I thought I would mix it up today with something more current, and also try to tie it into what today is, which is National Love a Tree Day. That's a real thing. You can Google it. um, and so I thought I would pull this out and use this since it has trees on it. And I did consider pulling out my Gabby and sitting in a tree because that has nice trees on it. But I'm using something vintage. I'm using a bit more vintage style wallet or item as a wallet. And so I thought that would tie it into Throwback Thursday and also Wallet Wednesday, which I missed yesterday. So I'm just being super efficient and I'm just lumping them all together. Work with me, people, because I got a heavy workload and I can't do another video today. So anyway, I have featured this bag in a couple of other videos talking about pattern placement, and also someone had asked how does it look and stand up when it's filled up with stuff. And so I don't feel like I really need to go over the details of the bag too much, but I haven't really talked about the pattern itself. I mean, yes, I talked about it in relation to the pattern placement, but I never really talked about the details of the pattern that much, which if you've seen my other videos, you know I like to do that. So since it has, I think it's 4 different tree renderings on here, I thought this would be a good bag to just sort of pull out and talk a little bit about before getting to the vintage item. So of course you can see, obviously, this is Fox Forest, and that was a Dillard's exclusive pattern, and this is a Carson Hobo, and I don't have a Dillard's near me. And so when I saw this in the online outlet sale, this pattern has been included in the last few online outlet sales, which is nice. And I always, whenever there's an Vera Bradley online outlet sale, I slug into the search field Carson Hobo to see what comes up. And this came up and I was surprised. I mean, I knew about Fox Forest, but I didn't know it came in the Carson Hobo. Dookie, stop licking that. He has a hot spot issue. If you have dogs, you know they're very tough to get rid of, the hot spots. And we're working on one last one to get rid of it. Anyway, also if you have dogs, you know that licking sound. Oh, God. Anyway, so I was super excited when I saw Fox Forest a few online outlet sales ago and jumped on it, even though it's, like I've said in my other video about this with the pattern placement, it's always a gamble, right? When you order something with animals, where are they going to fall? Since you can't pick it out in person. And so here it looks nice. The foxes fell up top. The ironic thing, though, about this bag is that because it's a slouchy hobo, when you pick it up and the bag slouches, they kind of disappear. But there's another pair over there, which ends up being better positioned when you're actually wearing the bag. So that's something I would tell people if you're ordering something with animals online, you can't pick out the pattern and you get it and you're initially kind of underwhelmed with your pattern placement. Don't write it off immediately. Like, fill the bag up with your stuff and put it on and see what happens to the bag and the fabric and with the fold, where it folds, where it hits on your body, because your pattern placement might actually work better when you're wearing it than it initially looks. So, but I still do like this placement. It's nice to get this sort of centered scene and the trees and the pairs of peacock. Well, you get one on each side of basically the pairs of peacocks, but they're on the back too. So I was pleased. But it's perfect for National Love a Tree Day. So front and center, you've got that tree. It's blowing out a little bit because of the light, but that tree trunk it's not true white. It is a cream color, which is, it's always nice when they do that. Like they did that with holiday owls. The white, what you think of is initially white, is not really white. It's this very good cream color, and it just makes the whole color scheme a little bit softer and very nice. So you've got that tree in the center, and then you've got these other two on the sides of it, you know, that are sort of the same template of a tree, but the colors are switched up a little bit. And then, so that's 3 different trees right there. And then on the back, you got this one, which I really love the combination there of the lavender background with the blue branches and tree trunk, and then the red and white leaves. I think that's my favorite of the tree configurations. And then over here, you've got those same 2 trees from the front that are the same design. They're just positioned differently. Here they're together, you know, above the kissing peacocks. I was pleased with that peacock pair right there. That's nice to get a full, you know, the full peacocks together. So that's you know, I thought appropriate for National Love a Tree Day. And I will just give the dimensions real quick. Well, I won't go into all the features, but I'll put the bag on just so people get an idea. See if I can get myself in this shot. I did write the dimensions down, which doesn't always mean that I'm going to get them right. You would think it would mean I'm going to get them right. But yesterday, my On the Square wristlet video, I had them written down, best laid plans, and then I misspoke. Got the paper right in front of me, reading it off, read it off wrong. The longest strap length is 54, and I said 45. So I had to put in a errata note in the video description. So sorry about that, but I try. So at the longest, if you were to stretch this out to its longest, it'd be 42 inches. I never use it as a crossbody or carry it that way, so I have it set at its shortest, which that measurement I actually don't have written down. So real quick, and then I'll get up and model it. It's about 22 at the shortest. Close it up. Turn the camera. So I just like the way this bag looks. I think that it's comfortable against the body and just fits in next to your body nicely. And I like the slouch of it. You can see here how the foxes disappear that I was talking about. But if I turn the bag around, there's that pair right at the front. So it ended up actually being nice placement right there, and with that tree that I like below the foxes. Anyway, so that's how it, you know, looks on. Sort of fits into your hip, and my hip area well. Anyway, I'm 5'4". So then if you wanted to stretch it out, crossbody, I have to measure it, I guess, to when I pick a length. I just sort of maybe try to do this fast, arbitrarily. I don't know what that is. See what length that is. Yeah, this is all kind of a rough lengths because, you know, sometimes I'm including a little bit of the hardware, other times I'm not, but it just gives you a ballpark idea of, you know, whether that strap length is going to work for you. About 35 now. I have it set at about 35. So I never wear it this way. Actually, I've never even put it on this way before. It actually doesn't look as bad as I, you know, thought it might look. So, I mean, I definitely would consider wearing it this way if I felt, you know, like I was tired of worrying about it staying on my shoulder, or I needed both my hands or something. But I took this bag recently I recently went to Cape May, and this was the bag I decided to use as my shoulder bag, and I was pleased the whole long weekend that this was the bag that I had chosen. It just was a really good choice. I was thinking that the whole weekend. this was such a good choice. I'm so glad I picked this bag. And I also recently have this in a couple of patterns, and went to the Philly Auto Show recently, and I carried this in Wildflower Paisley, and it just worked as a shoulder bag. I never did crossbody, and it stayed on my shoulder the whole time. It was comfortable. I got a lot of stuff in there, including some stuff my husband gave me to throw in there. So you ladies know what that's like. If you carry a bag, you get stuck lugging everybody else's crap around with you. Anyway, but it worked really well the whole day at the auto show too. So I do enjoy this bag. I think it's a very satisfying bag for me. I love it. I wish they would continue to make it. It doesn't look like they are continuing to make it. And it was, like I say again, good for National Love a Tree Day. So I won't go over like all the. I have my typical stuff in there: GPS, iPod Mini, iPad Mini, phone, all that stuff. But this is my vintage piece today. I actually do want to get my phone out because for size demonstration of what I can get in there. But this is my vintage piece today, and I use this as a wallet. This is the little hip, and this was a fairly recent local thrift store find for me, and I had never seen this style before. I just thought it was cute, and I knew the pattern, which is Hellow Dahlia, which is I wrote this down. Fall 2010, and this is a pattern that I feel like I would never wear in a bigger item. And so that's kind of what's nice about a little item like this, right? Is that it enables you to get a little taste of a fabric that you might not feel comfortable carrying in a large item on your body. Because I feel like this fabric is very bold and very graphic, and I have seen it in pictures online and bags, and I think it photographs well, because it's a strong pattern. But it also does kind of remind me a little bit of like upholstery fabric from the 50s. So I don't think, plus with the color scheme, which is a lot of burgundy, which is really just a fancy way of saying maroon to me. I'm not a big fan of the color palette in a big chunk, but little bits of it is nice with the pea soup green and the bold darker, like wine colors with that coordinating trim there. So when I first got this and saw it in the store, I didn't know what the style was. Like I said, I just knew the pattern. And so I went on eBay when I got home to see if I could figure out what it was. And so many listings of this item calling it mini saddle up, because I assume they're doing that because of this loop. And if you're familiar with the saddle up bag, it has that big flap, and then it has this loop hanging down. And so I just figured that makes sense, right? This looks like that's logical, and so I assumed that was correct. But someone who's a real style, Vera Bradley style and pattern expert, helped me out and told me that no, this is the little hip. Thank you, Angie. I don't think she watches the videos, but anyway, give her a little shout out. She's awesome. Really knows a lot about Vera. So she said, no, that's a little hip. And so then I went back online and searched little hip, and yes, this bag was coming up as little hip, and that other bag is called something else. I can't remember. There's some other, I'm sorry, there's another bag that's very similar to this, and that I think might be called a mini saddle up. I'm not sure about that, actually. But there is another bag that's very similar in style to this, but doesn't have this loop. And I think people are often using the names interchangeably. But anyway, this is a little hip. And this is functions as a crossbody. There is a strap. I brought the strap down. And I never use it that way, but this is functions as a crossbody and also a belt bag. There's this I'll get to, but there's this loop on the back where you can thread your belt through, but I would never do that. I would sooner use it as a crossbody. I feel like, that that would just make it a fanny pack in some way, and I don't think I've ever seen a fanny pack look good on anybody. So, anyway, look at the pattern in there. Look at the coordinating trim with all the dahlias is just so nice, and the big bursts there. So you can see how big these flowers are, right? You can't even get a full one really on the bag, which is, I think it's 5.5 this way by 5, but I didn't write that down. Let me just see real quick. About 5.5 by 6, about 5.5 to 6 by about 5. So about 5.5 to 6 this way by 5. So that gives you a sense of how big, if you were to see this item like on a bag, uninterrupted, how big these flowers are. We'll get to the features, but I mean, look, that's a big piece of flower, and it's not even the whole flower. So maybe it's a little much for me on a bag and a big item. So that's how I figured out it's a little hip. And I love this. I mean, it's kind of addictive to get these little items. They're easy to collect, easy to store, and then, like I said, you can get a little taste of a pattern you might not want in a bigger item. So I could see myself getting more of these. I use it, as a wallet. So it's, I know I'm trying to tie this into Wallet Wednesday, but wallet should be in quotes. And I do use it as a clutch if I'm going somewhere, I'm not taking a bag. And I did just use it that way recently. I went back home and to see Jerry Seinfeld stand up, and this was the bag that I just carried this. I didn't carry a bag, and it worked great the whole night. I was very pleased with it, and it's comfortable in the hand. It's the softness about it, and that's important, right? That tactile kind of experience is important with the item. So I did notice, I was going to go over the features now and show the interior, and I did notice when I put my stuff in there this morning that it's very similar. So I got this out just to compare. The configuration is very similar to this current item, which is the iconic RFID card case, which I do have another video about from a little while back because I love this item. So you can see it's a bit smaller, right? But it's still it's harking back to this. This is. So you've got this front flap, this loop. I love the loop. If you see any of my reversible tote videos, I'm always talking about the loop, or even the Stephanie bag. But I love this sort of hippie child, sort of throwback to the 60s kind of loop. I love that. I love the loop. Although I didn't like it on the saddle bag for some reason. I just can't get into the saddle bag. But I love it here. And this flap comes up and you can see the lining fabric. It's cotton lining now. So that's pretty. And so with this, it's a similar thing, Now this is a pin snap closure on that flap, but this one is a magnetic snap closure. And it's a good, it's strong, it's not matching up right now. There it goes. So, it never popped open, I carried it around for that Seinfeld concert all night, and it never popped open. It was secure. So that's one similar thing. This one has a slip pocket on the back. This doesn't have that because this has this belt loop on the back. So this belt loop, from the inner seams here, I think it's about 2 inches. So that gives you an idea of maybe what width belt you could cram through there if you were so inclined to wear it that way. But like I said, I don't wear it that way. But it's lucky pattern placement here, right, with this sort of dahlia bud that hasn't opened. So I don't mind that loop, that loop thing there. It's inconspicuous anyway, but I just don't use it. And then, also similar, then you've just got this interior, there, zipper section. That's the body of the bag, Now on this, you've got a little slip pocket in there that I do like that. And that's not here. But the rest is sort of similar, right? And you got this slip pocket up front. I did use this when I used it in New York, but I didn't have a lot today to stick in there, so it's just open, but that's nice there. You get that slip pocket there. There are 2 slip pockets in the front here on that zipper section. Then you got the zipper section, which is nice. That matches it's color coordinated, that pea soup, light pea soup green, and the ribbon tie, which is always nice. And then it's just one open compartment, which is a little different from this, which, just real quick, it's gusseted and has 2 sections and more slots. You can see in the other video. This is just one open section with 2 card slots on the back wall. So I'll take stuff out because I do think it's easier to see. And that didn't bother me. I mean, if you see the way I throw things in my bag, it's kind of a free-for-all, I always say in there. Most of the time, I'm just throwing stuff in. And so this kind of thing doesn't bother me. I mean, I do have wallets that, I've used to have more organization, but I don't always need it. So this stack of stuff here is just, some of my cards and my photos and some cash. And then on the back wall, I have my ID and healthcare card, so I can get a good look at the inside. So you can see those 2 slip pockets on the back wall, and then just the openness of the main pocket there, zipper pocket. And the pretty lining again all the way through the inside. But what's nice about this is that even with all this stuff, right, it just thrown in there, I can still stick my phone in there, which I did when I was out at night. That's when that's when it pays off to have the dinky clamshell phone still. So I just threw it in there and I zipped it up. And so, and it's not stressed, there's still lots of room in there. But that's nice. So it was just, I didn't have to worry about it. And I think I even threw my house keys in there, which were different from my, there was my city house keys from my home, my hometown, my dad's house keys. So they're a little bit smaller than my car keys, which have the humongous, my keys here have the car key on the thing. Everyone knows their car key's humongous now. So that wouldn't fit in here, but the other keys fit in here real nice, and that was good for the evening. I only had to hold this. I didn't have to worry about losing anything else. I probably could have even fit lip gloss in here, or like lip balm or something, a stick of something in there. So that's the vintage Throwback Thursday, Wallet Wednesday combo on National Live a Tree Day. Oh, and I have to do the strap. I forgot about the crossbody strap that goes along with this, because I don't usually care about that, but I will put it on. Let's see, did I write the length down? Yes, I did. So this crossbody, now it's a lobster claw clasp, and it spins, so that's nice. I always like that feature, because you don't have to worry, are you putting it on the right way? It just rights itself. Spins around and rights itself. Ooh, now I'm going to have trouble getting it on. So there's that, the clips on the side of the bag. So the longest length that this can be extended to is 56, but when I made that measurement, I included the hardware because it was easy to do so, and that adds length. Okay, 56 at its longest, but I have it set now to 50 with including the hardware. So, if you were interested in wearing it that way, that's how it looks. I just feel like I feel self-conscious. It's this little thing here, bouncing around, calling attention to the widest part of your body. So it's not for me, but I don't think it looks bad, but it's not for me. I do think this color scheme with this rich, like wine kind of color does look nice with denim, right? It just looks nice with the blue. Have to look at a color wheel and see how that relates. But, you can't always be looking at the color wheel. Then it gets annoying. So this was my vintage, like I was saying, my vintage Throwback Thursday, Wallet Wednesday on National Love a Tree Day with Hellow Dahlia. I love that play on the name. That's kind of fun. Whenever I see this pattern, I think about Carol Channing. For some reason, I always go to Carol Channing. I don't think about Barbara Streisand. I think about Carol Channing. That makes me sound old. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on, hopefully, on Vera Bradley Bag of the Day. Here's another close look.